In the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, lived a woman named Barbara. Barbara was known far and wide for her success. She owned a chain of luxurious boutiques and was considered one of the richest women in the city. Her mansion stood tall in Victoria Island, a symbol of her wealth and power. But despite her riches, Barbara's heart was as cold as the marble floors of her mansion. Working for Barbara was a humble maid named Nancy. Nancy had come from a small village in the eastern part of Nigeria, seeking a better life for herself and her young daughter, Ashley. Nancy was hardworking and kind, always ensuring that Barbara's house was spotless and her needs were met. Ashley, a bright and cheerful girl, would often help her mother with chores and dream of a better future. One fateful day, Barbara came home in a terrible mood. She had just lost a significant business deal and was looking for someone to blame. As she walked into the house, she noticed a small stain on the carpet in her living room. It was barely noticeable, but to Barbara, it was a symbol of imperfection in her otherwise flawless life. "Nancy!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the halls. Nancy hurried into the room, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew Barbara's temper well and feared what was coming. "Yes, madam?" Nancy asked, her voice trembling. "Look at this. How could you let this happen?" Barbara pointed furiously at the stain. Nancy tried to explain that it was an accident, but Barbara would not listen. In her rage, she decided she could no longer tolerate Nancy and her daughter in her home. "Pack your things and leave. I don't want to see you or your daughter here ever again," Barbara shouted. Nancy pleaded for mercy, explaining that she had nowhere else to go. But Barbara's heart was unmoved. She called her driver and ordered him to drop Nancy and Ashley at the nearest bus stop. As they left, Nancy held Ashley close, tears streaming down her face. Years passed. Nancy and Ashley struggled, but they never gave up. They moved from one shelter to another, always hoping for a brighter day. Nancy took on various jobs to support her daughter, who grew up to be a determined young woman. Ashley excelled in school, her mother's sacrifices driving her to achieve great things. One evening, as Barbara sat in her lavish living room, she turned on the television. A popular talk show was airing, and the host was introducing a special guest, a young woman who had overcome incredible odds to achieve success. Barbara's interest was piqued. The camera panned to the guest, and Barbara's heart skipped a beat. There, on the screen, was Ashley, the little girl she had once thrown out onto the street. Ashley looked radiant, her eyes shining with confidence. As the interview began, Ashley shared her story. She spoke of the struggles she and her mother had faced, the nights they spent on the streets, and the kindness of strangers who helped them along the way. She talked about her education and how she had worked hard to become a successful entrepreneur, now running her own fashion line. But it was Ashley's final words that left Barbara paralyzed. Looking directly into the camera, Ashley said, "To the woman who thought we were nothing, thank you. You made me realize that even in the darkest times, I could find my own light." Barbara felt a chill run down her spine. She recognized the words as a message meant for her. For the first time, she felt the weight of her actions and the pain she had caused. The guilt was overwhelming, and Barbara could only sit in silence, watching as Ashley's face faded from the screen. A millionairess kicked her maid and her daughter out onto the street. Years later, she saw the maid and her daughter on TV and was paralyzed by her words. Barbara sat frozen, the words echoing in her mind. "You made me realize that even in the darkest times, I could find my own light. Guilt washed over her like a wave, crashing into the walls of her heart. She could barely breathe as memories of that day flooded back. She remembered the look of despair in Nancy's eyes, the trembling of Ashley's little hands as they clung to her mother. Barbara had always justified her actions by thinking she was simply demanding the best. But now, faced with the incredible strength and success of the girl she had wronged, Barbara saw the truth. A sudden determination filled her. She had to make things right. She couldn't change the past, but perhaps she could seek forgiveness and offer help now. Barbara called her assistant, asking her to find out where Ashley's business was located. The next morning, Barbara dressed in a simple outfit, something she hadn't worn in years, and drove herself to the address her assistant had provided. It was a small but stylish boutique in a vibrant part of town. The sign above the door read Ashley's Creations. Nervously, Barbara entered the shop. The walls were adorned with beautiful dresses, all clearly crafted with care and love. As she wandered through the racks, she felt a mixture of pride and shame. This was what Ashley had built, despite all the odds stacked against her. Ashley was at the counter, speaking with a customer. She looked up, and her eyes met Barbara's. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, Ashley's expression turned from surprise to recognition, and finally, to a guarded calm. "Good morning. Can I help you?" Ashley's voice was steady, but there was a hint of the girl Barbara had known years ago. Barbara took a deep breath. "Ashley, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Barbara." Ashley nodded slowly. "I remember you," she said softly, the pain of the past still evident in her eyes. Barbara swallowed hard, tears welling up. "I came to apologize. I treated you and your mother so terribly. I was wrong, and I'm deeply sorry. Seeing you on TV, it made me realize how much I hurt you both." Ashley was silent for a moment, her gaze intense. Finally, she spoke. "My mother always told me to forgive, but not to forget. We forgave you long ago, not for your sake, but for ours. Holding on to that anger would have destroyed us. But we never forgot." Barbara felt a tear roll down her cheek. "Is there any way I can make amends? I want to help you, support your business. Anything you need." Ashley sighed and looked around her shop. "We've built this on our own, through hard work and determination. We don't need your money or your help now. But if you truly want to make a difference, use your influence to support others like us. There are many women and children out there who need a chance, just like we did." Barbara nodded, understanding the wisdom in Ashley's words. "I will. I promise I will." As she left the shop, Barbara felt a strange sense of relief. It wasn't complete forgiveness, but it was a start. She realized that real change had to come from within. Back at her mansion, Barbara began to make plans. She started by setting up a foundation to support women and children in need, providing scholarships and safe housing. She used her connections and resources to give others the opportunities she had once denied Nancy and Ashley. Months later, Barbara watched as her foundation's first event was broadcast on TV. She saw the smiles of the women and children she was now helping, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a true sense of peace. Meanwhile, Nancy and Ashley continued to thrive. Ashley's business flourished, and she became a role model for young women across the country. Nancy finally retired, enjoying the fruits of her and her daughter's hard work. And though their paths didn't cross again, the impact of that single day in the boutique resonated in both their lives. Barbara learned that redemption is a journey, not a destination. And for Ashley, the words she had spoken on TV were more than just a message to Barbara. They were a testament to the power of resilience and the light that can shine through even the darkest times.